I can't imagine my child doing this. My God. That's a thought that can literally stop a parent's heart in their chest. One minute, you think you know your child inside and out. And the next, they feel like a complete stranger, just swept away by this intense attraction that you don't understand at all. And this isn't just about them, is it? It hits us as parents right where we live. It feels like a report card on our parenting, on our family's values. So let's dive into this really complex emotional world together and try to figure out what's really going on beneath the surface. That one sentence, wow. It's just a storm of shock, disbelief, and this deep primal fear. It's that feeling that the happy family life you've worked so hard to build, your whole identity as a good parent, is suddenly cracking right before your eyes. And look, this feeling comes from a place of love, of course it does, but it's a love that's gripped by total panic. So much of our own self-worth is wrapped up in our kids, and when they take a turn off the path we imagine for them, it can feel like a devastating personal failure. And that panic? It's fueled by this flood of behaviors that seem to just pop up overnight. You hear the whispers on the phone. The bedroom door is always closed now. You see the glow of a screen at 2 a.m. Then maybe you find out about secret meetups. And then a commitment ring that was exchanged without you even knowing. Every single discovery is like another shockwave, making you feel like you're losing the very child you poured your entire life into. So let's just call this what it feels like for a parent. It's a crisis. This isn't just some teenage phase or a little bit of drama. For you, it's a crisis of connection, a crisis of understanding. It's that awful feeling when you look at your child and it's like you're looking through soundproof glass. You can see them moving, but you can't hear them anymore. Their world has become a total mystery. Now, let's get specific about the worries that can fuel this crisis, because they are very real. We're not just talking about a little crush. This is an intense, all-consuming attraction. And often it's with someone significantly older, which just raises 1,000 red flags, right? Then you see these drastic changes. Maybe they stop wearing the hijab, a tradition you hold dear, or they adopt a whole new style of dress that feels like they're trying to be someone else. Old, trusted friends are pushed away, family is rejected, and then this commitment is declared. And the worst part? It's often a younger sibling who has to be the one to reveal the secret, creating this painful crack right in the heart of the family. You can see how each of these things feels like a direct hit. So when you're faced with this crisis, what's our first instinct as parents? It's universal. It doesn't matter if you're in the East or the West. We react. We try to protect, to guide, to control. But as we're about to see, this is so often where the real damage is done. Our best intentions can end up building the highest walls between us and our children. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that breakdown. A parent seeing their child stray says, "This is haram, this is forbidden," because they are desperate to protect their child's soul. But what does the child hear? They don't hear guidance. They hear, "My deepest feelings are shameful and wrong." A mother with a broken heart might say, "Your face, it's lost its light, it's noor." But the child hears, "I am a source of darkness. I am a disappointment to you." Our pain becomes their burden. Our words, which are meant to come from love, land as messages of judgment. And this total breakdown in communication leads to this profound sense of loss for the parent, a feeling that the happy family they worked so hard to build is just gone. It's been shattered. In many cultures, especially in a place like Pakistani society, this desperation can lead to questions like, is this Nazar, the evil eye? It's a way of trying to make sense of something that feels completely senseless. It's another way of asking, how could this possibly be happening to us? Okay, so if reacting, controlling, and lecturing only pushes them further away, what on earth are we supposed to do? This is the crucial turning point, the pivot of our whole conversation. What if the answer isn't in what our teenager is doing right now? What if the key to understanding this present-day crisis is actually hidden in their past, in their unlived childhood? And the key concept here is something psychologists call a scarcity mindset. In Urdu, it's a beautiful term, ihsas-e-mahrumi, a deep feeling of emotional deprivation. Now listen, this has nothing to do with money or how many toys they had. This is a hunger for something way more fundamental. The need for unstructured, messy play, for a parent's undivided attention, for the freedom to just be a kid and make mistakes. These aren't just nice-to-haves. They are the absolute building blocks of self-worth and emotional security. And this deficit, this emotional hunger, it's not created in a single day. It builds up over time. Maybe it starts really early, when family stress means a parent is just too busy or preoccupied to sit on the floor and play. Then later, in those preteen years, social or religious rules are sometimes imposed before a child is really emotionally ready for them, and it stifles their natural curiosity. So here's the point. That intense obsessive behavior we see at 17, it's not just random rebellion. It is an eruption. It's a desperate, subconscious attempt to find and live out the childhood they feel they never got. Now, to truly grasp this, we have to do something that is incredibly difficult. We have to be willing to step out of our own reality and try, just for a moment, to see the world through their eyes. And this means we have to accept a fundamental truth. Every single one of us experiences the world in a completely unique way. All right, let's try a quick little thought experiment to see how this works. I'm just going to give you 3 simple words: a heater, a lamp, and a laptop. Just take a second. What scene, what feeling pops into your mind? So for you, maybe those words created a picture of pure comfort. A cozy room, the soft glow of a lamp, the warmth from a heater. It's a feeling of contentment, of security. That's one reality, and it's built from experiences of abundance and peace. But for someone else, those exact same words, heater, ramp, laptop, might trigger a sharp pang of longing. Their life experience has taught them that these things are out of reach. So for them, the words don't represent comfort. They represent desire, absence, scarcity. And then a third person might have a completely practical, maybe even annoyed reaction. The heater is an irritant, the lamp is a distraction. So, you see? 3 simple words, but 3 completely different worlds. This is what we call uniqueness. In Urdu, it's infatuation. We are all living in a reality that's colored by our own personal history. So let's bring this idea all the way back to our story. In the source material, the daughter was first drawn to this older person because of a tattoo. For the mother, that tattoo immediately brought up one idea: haram, forbidden, a mark of rebellion and bad character. But for her daughter, who felt her childhood was one of suppression, that very same tattoo symbolized everything she was starved for: freedom, boldness, beauty. The very thing the mother saw as a sign of being lost was the thing the daughter saw as a sign of finally being found. 2 realities, 1 tattoo. So if our child is literally living in a different reality, shaped by a different history, how do we ever bridge that gap? Well, there is only one tool powerful enough to build a bridge between 2 separate worlds, and that tool is listening. Not listening to reply or to correct or to judge, but listening simply to understand. And hey, if you feel that this conversation is important, if it's resonating with you, please take just a moment to like and share it. Your support genuinely helps us create more content on these deep topics. And honestly, it just lets us know that these conversations are making a real difference. Now, true listening requires a radical shift from what we normally do. First, we have to just stop advising. We have to fight every single urge to jump in with a solution or a lecture or a prayer. That just shuts the door. Instead, we ask questions only to understand more. And here's the key: validate the feeling without approving of the action. You can say, "It sounds like you feel a really powerful connection," which is very different from saying, "It's okay for you to be in this relationship." And often, the goal is just to create a safe space for them to hear their own thoughts out loud, maybe for the very first time. Your silence becomes the most powerful tool you have. And these are the kinds of questions that unlock doors. They're not an interrogation. They're an invitation. Simple, open-ended phrases like, "Help me understand a little more," or "Tell me more about that," can completely change the entire dynamic of the conversation. You stop being the judge and jury, and you become a curious, compassionate explorer of their inner world. And this brings us to the hope at the end of what can be a very difficult road. The goal here isn't to fix your child. They are not a problem to be solved. The goal is to reconnect with them, to slowly, patiently rebuild a bond of trust that may feel shattered, but believe me, is never truly gone for good. If you're navigating this journey and feel like you could use some more support for workshops, counseling sessions, or deeper studies on these kinds of topics, you can always reach out here. You know, sometimes a good guide can help us find the path when we feel completely lost in the woods. And please remember, you are not alone in this. Did you experience these early attractions yourself, or are you seeing this in your family now? If you feel it's relevant and you're comfortable, please share your experience or questions in the comments. Building a community of understanding is one of the most powerful, healing things we can do. And please like, subscribe, and follow the channel for more deep topic understanding. And so we end with this one reflective question. That instinct to fix, to protect, to guide,
That is the essence of being a parent. But what if the greatest act of parenting, the single bravest thing we can possibly do, is not to fix, but simply to listen? Are we brave enough to set aside our own fears, our own reality, just for a moment, and truly, truly hear our child's story?